Welcome to my channel, Chrissy Love. I'm Chrissy and I'm so glad that you're here. Thank you for liking my video and for subscribing and being part of my perfume review community, which is what I do here. I review perfumes. Today I am talking about copycats, perfumes that smell like other perfumes, so much so that they're almost interchangeable. I hesitate to call them dupes because I don't think they were actually made to smell just like each other, but they smell so similar that I think they deserve a little bit of exploration and explanation so that you don't potentially buy something that smells just like another perfume. So I'm not going to go too deep into a full review of each perfume. I have, of course, completely wear tested all of them and will give you my basic impression of performance and fragrance and what sets them apart from each other and what also makes them very similar. And I will tell you their notes. But I'm just not going to go too much farther than that because there just is not enough time. So let's jump right in. The first set that I'm going to compare is MAC Candy Yum Yum and the new Angel Nova perfume. And as soon as I picked up Angel Nova in Ulta recently, I was like, I know I've smelled that before. It is so similar to MAC Candy Yum Yum. It's probably one of the most similar of all that I'm talking about today. So I have a sample size of MAC Candy Yum Yum, and I wore Angel Nova around me all day. I did not buy it because I didn't have to. I already have something similar. Now, Angel Nova, the notes are raspberry and lychee for top notes, middle note of rose, and base notes of akigolwood and benzoin. And Angel Nova is a very bright, tart raspberry and lychee scent. It's very sweet. It's very mouth-watering. It kind of has a hard candy type feeling to it. So it's like a interpretation of a fruit that is then sweetened and turned into candy versus a realistic fruit. It also has very little development on my skin. It stays very straightforward, outwardly raspberry and lychee and tart and bright fruity. And of course, very sweet. It's very much the same from start to finish. And it was released in 2020, so very recently. The other one I have is Candy Yum Yum, which the notes on that are guava for a top note, middle notes of cherry blossom and iris flower, and base notes of cotton candy and vanilla. So the notes are actually not that similar, but this has a very juicy guava, so very tropical. It also has that hard candy-like feel, so a fruit that is an interpretation of the flavor of a fruit into a scent versus being the realistic scent. It's also very tart at first spray, and then it dries down into more of like a sweet scent and just less tart. It is also very mouth-watering. It was released in 2016, so a few years ago. And these just smell so similar to me because they both smell bright, fruity tart. You know, one is raspberry and lychee, one is guava, but they come off very similarly in terms of like that hard candy, zesty fruit scent. And both have pretty similar performance where they last for most of the day and they're pretty strong and pretty good projection. And I would recommend either for performance and also for scent. I think they both smell delicious, but I don't think you need to have both. They are just so very similar. So that is Angel Nova and Candy Yum Yum, and Angel is by Mugler. The next two I want to compare are both by Lancome. That is La Nuit Tresor Nude and La Vie et Belle Soleil Cristal. And when I smelled Soleil Cristal, I thought I was like taking crazy pills or something. Like, why would the same company make two fragrances that are so extremely similar? And even in the notes, they are very similar. So Soleil Cristal is mandarin orange, pink pepper, and bergamot at the top notes. Middle notes of ylang ylang, iris, orange blossom, and jasmine. And base notes of coconut, vanilla, and patchouli. And I tried this on Ulta. Again, I did not buy it since I already own something so similar. And at first spray, it's very suntan lotion-y. And it sweetens up in the dry down to a very beachy coconut with a salt and sand kind of vibe. It definitely gives me salt vibes from it. It's then in the dry down very creamy and sweet. Now, I will say Nude is more gourmand, but I'll go into that more in a second. And Soleil Cristal was released in 2021, so very recently. Now, La Nuit Tresor Nude has a top note of bergamot, heart note of rose, and base notes of coconut and vanilla. And so what they share are bergamot, coconut, and vanilla And obviously those notes all stand out very much because it makes them smell so similar. So La Nuit Tresor Nude is very sweet and creamy and coconut cream pie-like. It's very smooth. It also gives me this slightly sea salt air vibe. It also dries down into a very gourmand, creamy coconut. And this one was released in 2020, and this is what the bottle looks like. So in addition to smelling very similar, they were actually released very close in date. So they both give a salty air vibe. They both have a sweet, creamy coconut. Now for me, La Nuit Tresor Nude is a little bit more creamy and definitely sweeter. The Soleil Cristal stays very suntan lotion on my skin, whereas the Nude turns into a sweet gourmand. So in that way, I definitely do prefer Nude. And I really feel like I'm going crazy. Everyone's going crazy over Soleil Cristal and reviewing it all over the place and just loving it. And I'm like, does nobody see what I see? Does nobody smell nude in this? Only not as good? Yeah, that's the craziest I'm going to get for this video. It annoys me so much because this nude is one of my very favorite scents right now. And so the fact that Soleil Cristal is getting all this hype when it is like the ugly sister to this one is just so bizarre to me. But yes, so that is La Vie et Belle Soleil Cristal and La Nuit Tresor Nude, both by Lancome. The next are actually a set of 3 that smell very similar to me. And that is Pepe Jeans London for Her, KKW Nude Lips, and MAC Creme de Nude. And these actually all 3 have a very similar color too. So I don't know if that's anything to say at all about it, but it's just, I noticed that. So first of all, I'll start with the KKW Nude Lips. So this is like the Kylie Jenner, Kim Kardashian thing. And this has a really prominent vanilla note, as well as a solar note. So I'll give you the full list here. We have Solar Spices, Lily of the Valley, Nude Magnolia, Jasmine, Peony, Tahitian Vanilla, Amber, and Musk. And so again, it has a prominent vanilla with the solar notes that you can definitely get in it. It has a slightly fruity vibe, which is not in the notes, but it also has this kind of coconutty vibe. So not tropical, but more like a warm, round base. It's very subtle, it's very creamy. It definitely is sweet with that vanilla. It was released in 2019, so fairly recently, and it does have pretty weak performance. So this is actually not a love of mine, but it's not bad. It's just creamy and sweet and pretty basic. And then for Pepe Jeans London, this is more tropical. It's very sweet and fruity and has also a vanilla base. So I'll give you the full notes. It has top notes of marshmallow, almond, and tangerine, middle notes of vanilla, almond milk, and vodka, and base notes of amber, musk. It also has a really coconutty vibe, which is why, to me, it feels similar to the KKW. It has a similar base. So though it has more of like a vibrant fruitiness to it, which I really love, it has that sweetness and that creamy base that is very similar in nature to KKW. So not just in theory, like based on notes, like it actually to me smells like a very similar base. And this was released in 2018, so a little 1 year before the KKW, and it does have better performance. And then finally we have the MAC Creme de Nude, and this was released in 2016, so the first of all of them. And the notes on this, we have velvet musk, soft butter suede accord, pure ambrette seeds, and Madagascar vanilla bean. And this also has a similar base to the other 2. So this has a vanilla, very creamy sweetness. It has like kind of a suede feeling to it, like a leather-ish suede. And so this is how it diverges from the other 2. So whereas the Pepe Jeans London for Her has more of like a tropical scent on top of that creamy vanilla base, the MAC has the suede version, and the KKW just is what it is. It just is completely the base. It doesn't have anything extra on top of it like the others do. And the MAC Creme de Nude has reasonable performance, but not excellent. I have to spray it a couple times. So in terms of performance, none of them are beast mode. KKW is the worst, and then probably these are probably a toss-up between about like a mid-range performance. So yes, what they share is that they all have this really similar creamy vanilla base that smells very similar. if I were to choose one, I'd probably say the Pepe Jeans London because I like that tropical twist to it. And I just find myself kind of tiring of this. I've had the MAC Creme de Nude for a long time. And where at first I was like, oh, this is so comforting and sweet and nice, and I get to wear it at night, I'm kind of just getting over it. And so the Pepe Jeans kind of adds something to it that's brighter for me. And the KKW just has no chance. It's fine. It's not bad. It's pretty safe, but there's nothing extraordinary about it, and I'm just kind of getting sick of it too. So yeah, that we have is the KKW Nude Lips, Pepe Jeans London for her, and MAC Creme de Nude comparison. My final comparison is also a group of 3, and they're all 3 that I've owned for a while and gotten to wear a lot. So first we have Givenchy Live Irresistible Delicieuse, La Vie est Belle Intensement by Lancome, and Britney Spears Sunset Fantasy. And what these all strike me as having in common is, I have to give credit where it's due, what Gabby Loves Perfumes, who has a YouTube channel, her name is Gabby, and she once described the Intensement perfume as having a pudding smell. And that's what they all really have in common. Now I just can't get that out of my head. Like, that's exactly what I smell now. So the notes, I'll start with this one, the Britney Spears Sunset Fantasy, because it is the lowest performance and my lowest choice. The top notes are Italian mandarin, apple, and blood grapefruit. Middle notes are peach, raspberry leaf, and orange blossom. And the base notes are milk mousse, vanilla, amber, and Australian sandalwood. And this has this pudding note in it, but like a fruity pudding is what it smells like, because it's almost lactonic. It's so extremely creamy, like beyond just normal creamy you have in perfume. This is extreme creaminess, probably because of that milk mousse and that vanilla combination. And you really get that bright mandarin, peach, grapefruit, and raspberry. Yes. And so, but it has very poor performance, and the dry down is the same as its start. It doesn't really develop. Then we have the La Vie Belle Intensement. And the top notes in this are raspberry, remember raspberry, pink pepper, and bergamot. The middle notes are heliotrope, jasmine, sambac, and orange blossom. And the base notes are vanilla, iris, benzoin, sandalwood, and patchouli. Oh, by the way, the Sunset Fantasy came out in 2017. And so the La Vie Belle Intensement came out in 2020. It's the most recent release. And this has the raspberry on that pudding vanilla base. So very similar notes. It has really excellent performance though, which is what sets it apart from the Sunset Fantasy. It lasts all day on my skin. It projects really well, but it has a very similar, though slightly more sophisticated, I'd say, base. And then for the Givenchy Live Irresistible Delicieuse, the top notes are French pastries and cherry, middle notes of rose and orange blossom, and base notes of caramel, bitter almond, vanilla, and orris root. So this has a cherry on a sweet vanilla base. And this was released in 2017, so the same year as Sunset Fantasy. And this has that same pudding note. I would say, though, the cherry, though it smells similar to raspberry in this context, it really adds a similar vibe. The cherry in the Delicieuse is just a little bit brighter and more zesty than the raspberry in actually either of the other two, which makes it slightly different, but to me, they serve the same purpose. So I really struggle owning all 3 of them right now in choosing which one to wear on a given day, because they really give off a very similar vibe between them. So yes, in terms of performance, it's slightly under the La Vie Belle Intensement, but definitely better than Sunset Fantasy. So these are all perfumes I really enjoy. I really do love them, but they have such a similar vibe. I'd say they're like 90% the same, and they absolutely serve the same purpose when I'm looking just to smell like a creamy, juicy berry pudding. All 3 of these definitely fit the bill. So no real losers here, but I would say of the 3, my favorite is the Intensement. So again, that is La Vie Belle Intensement, Givenchy Live Irresistible Eau de Parfum, and Britney Spears Sunset Fantasy. So I'd love to hear what you think. Have you smelled any of these perfumes? Do you think they smell similar? Or what other perfumes do you think are copycats of others? I would love to know. Thank you for liking. Thank you for subscribing. So glad you're here, and I hope you have a very beautiful day.